All right, so what happened in the month of March in Edmonton's housing market? We're going to talk about that right now. All right, the biggest question people are having right now is, can I buy a house? Can I sell my house right now? And with the market, it is definitely not what it was last year, and we are now officially into spring and Edmonton's spring market. Last year, we saw Edmonton's real estate housing market boom and go crazy starting in February, and of course this year, we did not see that. Typically, when it starts to boom, it is starting to pick up in March and April, and we're starting to see that normal trend return back to Edmonton in 2023. So in March, we saw an increase in the number of listings that came on the market month over month. So from February to March, we saw more listings come on the market. However, if you look from last year to this year, we are down the amount of listings that we were last year. And the average amount of listings right now, it's so low, it's actually causing quite a conundrum for buyers because there's not a whole lot to look at. And sellers have a very strange concept of confidence because they're thinking they can potentially get last year's numbers. They're still very much stuck in last year's numbers. You'll see some properties that were on the market for the last 3-4 months, and now they're getting action because there's nothing to look at. So then even things that are overpriced are being looked at. Now, that being said, just because they're overpriced and now getting looked at does not mean they're going to get that. I've seen some properties go up in list price because they're seeing the market buzz around like this, and that's not, in my personal opinion, the way that you're going to sell your property. If it didn't sell back then, it's probably not going to sell now. It's just, yes, there's lots of activity, but it doesn't mean you're going to get multiples and over asking. It depends on market value. Buyers are much more aware of that and much more willing to wait. The interest rates are not below 2% for them to entice them to do such a thing. So if you look at the number of sales for the month of March, we did go up again month over month, but it's down year over year. Every Tuesday, I update and come on live to talk about the single family home market in Edmonton, St. Albert, Sherwood Park, and Spruce Grove. And we've seen that same trend. And in Edmonton, the listings are so low and the sales continue to stay steady. So what that looks like is a seller's market. But it is, in my opinion, more of balance. Like I mentioned earlier, buyers are not jumping if it's not going to be worth it. Now, you as a seller can still price competitively and still get multiple offers. We've seen that. We've still seen tons of showings in the first few days and more than 5 offers and over list. Absolutely, it's possible. But if you're priced a bit too high, it's a bit of a challenge. Now, we're seeing too, if you're priced just right, in some neighborhoods, the buyers don't seem to understand that you can't just come in lower. So it's a very interesting market right now. We're seeing a lot of offers fall apart because of financing. So there's an offer put in, and just because it's pending, it doesn't mean it's going to go through. We've seen a lot of those deals fall through. So keep an eye out on pending deals, and that is what people are doing since there's not a lot of options to look at for listings. So the highest price homes that have sold in the month of March, interesting. So for detached homes, you're looking at 2.145 million, semi-detached 691,000, row townhouse 550,000, and apartment condo 960,000. Edmonton is still spending quite a bit of money on their properties. If you're local here to Edmonton, you're going to think that's insanely expensive, which I also agree. If you're watching from Ontario or BC, other provinces or other countries, that the prices still seems low to you. That's not low for Edmonton, just so you know. That's actually quite high. 2.1 is a very high price single family home in Edmonton, and you get all the bells and whistles. So if we looked at the average price here in Edmonton for single family homes, it did go up month over month, but year over year, it did go down. The average price for Edmonton is $477,000. So just over 6% decrease on that property price from last year, because last year we did see quite a bit higher pricing at this time of year, but then it did eventually come down to basically where it is right now. And what can you get for $477,000? I'm seeing a lot of people wanting to buy a 2,000 square foot home, newer, 2-story. $500,000 isn't enough. Sadly, if you want the finished basement, if you want it to be newer, you're looking more likely at $550 to $600 and not $500. So you can see the average price at $477 is going to get you maybe a smaller home or an older home in an older neighborhood that might need some work done. That's kind of what we're seeing on the ground. So the most popular price point in sales is $350,000 to $450,000. The average price point of the semi-detached is $367,000. So that is easier for people to afford and more first-time home buyers looking. What is a semi-detached? It's a half duplex. So it's got attached on one side but not on the other. And those homes have become more affordable. If you have a semi-detached home to sell, this is prime time market for you to sell this property. And detached single family homes at the $450,000 mark, even the $500,000, there's very little inventory in that market. So you'll be able to sell that and either move out of the province or country, or if you're looking to move up into the 600s plus, it's a lot quieter. Now that being said, the market all around, its spring market is busier all around. So people are seeing activity on all property prices right now. So if you look at the average days on market, this is of March compared to March of last year, it's pretty much almost doubled in time. And that totally makes sense when we look at properties that we've been selling this year compared to last year. Our average days on market is still pretty consistent. Our marketing plan and our pricing plan and our team helps you kind of go against the grain. We don't ever go with the average days. We have our own average days. But if you look at Edmonton in general, the average days went from 27 to 49 for single family homes and very similar for the semi-detached homes. So spring Edmonton housing market is in full bloom and it will be continuing to bloom in April. We're seeing a very strong April and I suspect May will be strong as well. Last year it started to peter off in May and that's because we started in February. So typically we have about 3 months of strong market and I would say March, April, May is going to be our stronger markets. We might see that seep into June, but if you're thinking about selling, I definitely would not postpone any longer. There's time that you need to prepare your house for sale and there's time that we need to market your home before we get on the market so we can get the most amount of interest in your home to sell it for the most amount of money. Tune in next time when we talk about what's happened for a month of April, and don't forget on Tuesday mornings at 9 a.m. we are live talking to you about the single family home market. Feel free to comment and I can answer your questions then.